Yo, what is up, guys? It is Galeriot here, back on the 59 Gaming mobile channel, and we are here with the top 10 banner units of 2021. And of course, with me today, we have Minado. Say hello, mate.
Hi everyone, it's Minato here, as Gil just said, and yeah, I'm very excited to go ahead and cover this list with you guys.
Alright, so before we get in, of course, we have to talk a bit about what factors we've kind of come up with for these guys to rank them in an appropriate manner. So, Minato, of course, we have to look at their passives, their super attack effect primarily. Link skills is a bit like on a lower scale because, of course, most of them are support units, right? Is there anything else I've missed out on that you would like to mention as well that we are kind of factoring in this whole equation?
I would say, again, and one thing to really consider as well as teams, with these banner units, again, like Gil said, a lot of them are support units, so I feel like, the amount of teams they could be on is also very important.
Yep, agreed. 100% agree with you on that one. The leader skill is kind of like the lowest out of all of their whole kit, basically. So we're going to ignore that. We're just going to focus on the primary things. Now, of course, before we also get in, one more thing. Don't get butthurt if our list is a bit different compared to yours. We'd like to see your list, why you guys think certain units should be higher, certain units should be lower. Both Minato and I gave our own list before we kind of combined it together to kind of come up with this list. So yeah, just note that down. Let us know in the comments, what do you guys think? And yeah, let's get right into it, Minato.
At number 10, what we have here is Tech Krillin. So this Tech Krillin banner unit is who came out with Gohan and Goten. Essentially just to kind of cover his main points and the reason why he makes this list. He is a super class ally support of key 2 and 30% attacking defense, which is very, of course, easy. It's a very wide amount of units that get that amount. When there's another Goten and Trunks attacking in the same turn, he does get more damage reduction of 30% and then another 2 key and 30% attacking defense for super class allies. He also helps himself there as well. He's on a solid amount of category teams. I feel like that definitely need help, like, movie heroes, battle of wits, saviors. Those are like smallerish teams that could definitely get help from having the support type units. And he is on bigger categories like Kamehameha and even Bond of Friendship, which is definitely a pretty good category. I would say the one thing about him is that he may be on his own, his stat wise, unless you have another Goten and Trunks on the rotation, so he gets his full passive. It can be a little, not necessarily subpar, but not as great as any of the other units we have on the actual list we have. And along with that, he doesn't have he has a moderate amount of categories is what I'd say. He doesn't have too many, too little, but that's really something to really think about it. And he only has one super attack effect, just raising defense, which nowadays we see units having like a billion of them. So those are just my thoughts. What are you thinking about here, Gil?
I have to agree with whatever you said there. I think Tech Krillin is really good. There's a reason why he's in our top 10, but he is limited by the fact that he does require obviously a Goten and Trunks to showcase his full potential, which isn't hard. I mean, you've got the Dokkan Fest Goten and Trunks, you've got the EZAs, you got the Dokkan ones from the Bio Broly movie as well, the Tech and the Int one, if I'm not mistaken, or Tech, yeah, the Tech and Int one, I think it is. So you have a good range of Goten and Trunkses now, especially in this last year that they dropped off. They dropped so many of them, I should say, more so. So it's not too difficult to get them, but again, like, if you're planning on using Krillin just as a unit there and not have any Goten and Trunks around, that's where his weaknesses start to show. Outside of that, like you mentioned, he's on a good amount of categories in terms of like helping out some of the more unknown ones, or not necessarily unknown ones, the lesser used ones, and also being on some of the more used ones as well. I think that overall he's not bad, but there's a reason why he's a bit lower in our list compared to some of the units that we have. Anything else you want to add, Minato?
No, I think you pretty much covered all there is to it. And one thing I do want to say is, even though we said, of course, links are probably the least per factor with like these support type units around here, his link set is not the greatest, definitely, which can hurt a little bit since he's not like a senior or anything like that. But again, since he is an all type support, for example, or super class support, it's not that big of a deal in the end.
Definitely agree. Now we move on to number 9, and of course we had to bring in the big boy himself, the one that's actually coming out relatively soon on global, or by the time this video goes up should be already out on global, and that is Second Form Cell STR. Now this one is I had really high hopes for, especially because we only have one more second form cell, and that's the tech type support unit, which hasn't come back in, I think, about 90 years, I would say. So getting a new second form cell was very exciting, and he's not bad at all. He gets a start of turn 80% defense. He gets 180% attacking defense when performing his super attack, which is kind of fine. You're not going to put him in that first slot. You're primarily going to put him in that third slot or second slot primarily. But this is where things get a bit iffy for me. He has a chance of performing a critical hit 18% and reduces damage received by 18% when there is an Android/Cell Saga category enemy. High chance of stunning all enemies when there is an enemy whose name includes Android. And then, of course, he has the Android/Cell Saga category Extreme Class Allies Key +3 and attacking defense 40%. The big issues for me, and the reason why he's so low on this list, comes in that middle part where he has so much reliant on the fact that there needs to be an enemy who's an Android or an Android/Cell Saga enemy. Now, of course, the Android/Cell Saga category support is also not bad. Obviously, the category has been fleshed out a little bit more in the last couple of months with the future Gohan, the Trunks, the Super Vegeta. But even so, I think that's where he starts to lose out a little bit compared to the upcoming units. His link skills, however, are really good in my personal opinion with the big bad bosses, Nightmare, Brutal Beatdown, and stuff. And then obviously he's on quite a lot of categories, surprisingly. Androids, Transformation Boost, Time Travelers, Life Forms, and so on and so forth. So I think he covers a good set of categories. What do you think about Cell Minato? How do you feel about him?
Yeah, so I would say the thing with the Cell, when he came out, I was a little sour on him, but I saw him in game, and again, his numbers that he could put up are very impressive, especially defensively. Although he does have the super first, I don't find that as an issue since as a support type unit, he will probably be in the second or third slot. Anyways,
yep.
I would say he has a very solid link set for the teams you want to run him on. He's on a nice amount of category teams. The one thing that you did bring up is his other conditions, like the last few parts of his passive, except for its support, where like he wants to be facing an Android Cell Saga enemy, he needs to be attacking an Android. Like in the stages that he's in like difficult content, he doesn't really fight those type of enemies. So
yep.
Those kind of passes right now currently are just not able to be used. His super attack effect, again, it's okay. Greatly raising attack, it definitely adds a little bit to his damage, but it's not like, anything spectacular. And then I only wish that they didn't limit the Cell Saga Android's category supports to extreme class. I feel like it wouldn't have like hurt if he was like all, the entire category, which I believe no other unit on this list actually specifies a specific class, which definitely I feel like does
apart from one
in
unit,
terms of his usability.
One unit technically specifies type, but that's more universal than a category.
Yes, than a category to be more specific, like extreme class category. But yes, I'm sure you guys know who that is, but that's what I would say, that does limit him a little bit as well, but he's still very fantastic, and he's on the top 10 list, so he's good. Any other questions before we kind of move on to the next one?
No, I agree. I actually completely I mean I mentioned it, but I completely blanked out for a split second, because I was just like, wait a second, it actually is extreme class allies. This was something that I noticed right before we actually started recording. I was just like, he only supports extreme. I thought he actually supported the entire category, but no, it's only extreme, which isn't bad, like you said. I mean, there are a lot of Cell Juniors, and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of limiting and unfortunately damning for him to drop him down to all the way in 9th in this list. We move on, however, to 8th place. Minato, 8th place. What do we have in 8th place now?
Yeah, so in 8th place, what we have here is Tech, Gohan GT, and Goten GT. I wanted to read out their full name because it felt fancy. Anyways, they're very, very strong units. They are a GT Heroes category support of 3k and 40%, which is definitely a strong category, and got a lot of buffs during the Golden Week celebration this year. They get triple super attack. How their passive works, their defense gets extremely high. Like if you triple super attack with them, have like all their links active, they can get around like 700k defense if you get lucky, which is pretty absurd. They have a strong link sets. And then this is where we get into the little off things about them. Although they're very strong and they support a strong category, they are only on 5 teams actually, which definitely does hurt the places you're able to use them outside of the GT Heroes team. On the GT Heroes team, they're definitely a fantastic supporter, and even then, I feel like the one good thing about this unit is that you can run them on other teams even if they're not necessarily providing that GT hero support because of how strong they can be defensively. But again, it is a little bit of an RNG factor since you want to get the multiple super attacks. But overall, I really do like this unit personally. I just feel like there's just these little things you can nitpick into them, and at the end of the day, they aren't as usable, I feel like, as some of the other units on the list may be. But they're powerful enough to where I feel like overall you would probably end up using them more than the second form cell. Even though they're on less category teams, the teams there are very strong.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think if you look at the categories they're on, a lot of them already have GT heroes, so they still take advantage. And even without them supporting the GT heroes category, I think there's still like so many them just as a unit, as their own. They're really good. They're really, really good. They're really strong. Like you say, they can get up to high levels of defense. And on top of that, their link set isn't the worst. They have Saiyan Warrior Race, all in the family, Saiyan Lineage. I mean, Saiyan Lineage and Saiyan Warrior Race alone are really solid. GT adds in a lot more ki for them, so they can easily get ki. I mean, they already get ki from their support passive already, so not really an issue there. But yeah, no, really solid units. They were pretty high up in our last list that we did back in the summer, I think it was. So they continue that form. They're still on our list, which is very impressive in itself, considering how many good support units have come out, or banner units have come out ever since then. So no, I completely agree. I don't think there's anything else I need to add on top of this. Minato, from you, anything?
Yeah, I would say one thing I'd like to add is you talked about their links. I want to say Cold Judgment on the family. That's like 50-45% defense or so. And again, with how their passive works and their super attack effects, that definitely adds a lot to them. So there's definitely a huge difference when you have those active or not active. But yeah, outside of that, we're pretty much good to go. So let's go ahead and move on to the next spot, which I believe is number 7, and you can go ahead and lead in.
Yup, number 7 it is. This one I kind of wanted to advocate more for being higher. Minado shut me down, unfortunately, and that is AGL Gotenks. Of course, AGL Gotenks came out with Tech Gogeta a couple of months ago for Global in November. JP got him in, like, what was it, August? July, August, something like that. Tanabata, basically, right?
Around like July, yes.
Yeah, July, basically. And a very good unit, in my opinion, personally. Obviously, he gets that 120% attack and defense start of turn, and then he gets an additional 70% attack and defense, or a high chance of performing a crit when facing only one enemy. He does have a chance to launches an additional attack, which has a high chance of becoming a super attack when facing 2 or more enemies, and he is leading, or supporting, I should say, the time limit category. He leads the time limit category as well, but only 120%. But he supports time limit as well, 40% attack and defense. His super attack effect is where things get very spicy, because he raises defense for 1 turn, but he also can do an AoE attack that has a medium chance of stunning all enemies. So if you have a chance to triple super with this boy, he basically can get a medium chance to stun each single time, which is unbelievably good for SBR. But Minato, you obviously wanted him a bit lower than I did. What's the reason for that? Let's have a little bit of discussion here for the lovely people at home.
Yeah, okay, so what I would say is, the one thing about this Gotenks is that I feel like he is, compared to like the units that are higher up, he may be a little more dependent on that RNG. What I like about his line is that he does the different things based on the enemy he's facing. So like one enemy, he gets a crit, and then against multiple enemies, he gets to almost double super attacks, depending on how the RNG goes for you. And with the AoE stun, makes him very powerful for Super Battle Road. I just feel like he is mostly just, again, at the end of the day, that Super Battle Road unit. Although Super Battle Road is definitely, some of the more difficult stages, and he is on a lot of Super Battle Road stages. I feel like in longer events, the God events, he may not be as great. He'll be a solid option as well. But again, it's really that AoE stun that I feel like is truly what propels him to be above, for example, the Gohan and Goten.
Yeah,
he's on more teams I feel like need help, than Gohan and Goten. And the time limit category support type buff is pretty solid. I wouldn't necessarily say it's better than GT Heroes, but I feel like it's a larger roster. And, there is definitely probably going to be some additional buffs to it very soon through either EZAs or even brand new units for the upcoming 7th anniversary, possibly. We'll have to wait and see, of course, but I know a lot of people are expecting like a blue Gogeta, So I feel like he could also just age better than like the other units that are below him. But outside of that, he has a strong link set. I feel like it's just that he has the like a lot of Gotenks units. They have the unpredictability with them, and they may not be the most consistent unit ever. Is really my thing at the end of the day.
No, that's fair, and I kind of was like, yeah, I can see it, especially with the time limit category. I can see your argument for GT Heroes being better. I can kind of see it, but that's a discussion for another day in terms of what category is better than the other category. But yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. The unpredictability is there for this Gotenks as well, just like every other unit. But like you said, I think there's a very high chance he could propel a lot higher once we start getting more newer units as well. Like you said, we could be getting Gogeta Blue for the anniversary. We got the EZAs coming up, potentially LR, Goten, and Trunks EZA and stuff like that. I think this guy can become a staple in the future and still maintain his position in this list. Probably not go any higher than this, but probably maintain his position in the lower half of this list for sure. But I still love him. I think I placed him in my personal list. I think he was like 5 or 6 as well. So not too high compared to his current position. But yeah, he is at 7 for our list. So we move on. Number 6, Minato, tell us, what's at number 6 for us?
Yeah, so this is actually the unit that I told Gil that we should have over the Gotenks, in my personal opinion. This is the STR Super Saiyan Trunks Teen. So this is the support unit that came out with Broly for Saiyan Day. Now, we all know, first and foremost, let's just get out of the way, Hybrid Saiyans is becoming one of the best teams in the game. Even if you don't think it's the best team in the game, it's definitely one of the best teams in the game. So him being a support for Hybrid Saiyans of 3 key and 40% attack and defense, I feel like is very, very important, because especially that 3 key, the team can have some key issues with Tech Gohan as a leader, especially if you're running more of a prepare for battle build. So him giving that key is very, very nice. His super attack effects I do like. The raised attack and defense 1 turn, and then the medium chance of stunning the enemy. Again, just is pretty solid for Super Battle, although it's not an AoE. When you can get the Ultra unit super attack, where he can actually stack defense and get a high chance to stun if there's a Gohan attacking in the same turn. Gohan Youth specifically, which there aren't too many of those, but I feel like there are some pretty solid options nowadays. For example, we got the World Tournament Tech Super Saiyan Gohan,
yes,
who has a very, very strong defensive stacker with damage reduction. AGO LR Gohan, again, is another pretty solid option still nowadays. So, you know, especially for long events, you can get that stacking defense there, and they can make a very powerful rotation. Again, one thing I would say about him is his passive is definitely a little more on the simple end. He really does get just a very strong 200% attack and defense, 30% chance to do double super attack, and then just the support. So compared to the other units below him, he's not like, you know, as nearly, I feel like, I'm trying to find the correct word for it, but he may not be doing necessarily as much, but I feel like overall he's more powerful in a sense, especially with his link set. I feel like his link set is definitely very strong for the teams you're going to run him on. He can be used very well in like many of those teams like Hybrid Saiyans, Future Saga, Super Saiyans, Entrusted Will, Bottom Master Disciple. They're like filled to the brim with Hybrid Saiyans. And I really personally like this Trunks a lot. And I just think overall you will end up using him more than the Gotenks. Is really my deciding factor to it. But let me know what you think about the Trunks. You know, I know that you advocated him to be a little under Gotenks, so what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I personally thought Trunks should have been just a position lower than him. I think I placed him like 7 as well, 7, 8, something like that. I think he's fantastic, don't get me wrong. I mean, all of these support units on this list are phenomenal in their own right. But the biggest reason was that, like you said, he doesn't do as much. He is simple and effective, but I feel like, you know, to actually like unbelievably get his true potential out, you need a Gohan Youth. And as much as I'm an advocate for LR Gohan actually still being good to this day, you know, as much as people may slate him, I still think LR Gohan's fantastic, and you will probably run him with this guy. It's just that for SBR stages and stuff like that, you're probably going to try and find an alternative to LR Gohan, because LR Gohan, you know, takes some time in getting used up to scratch, especially with the more recent Extreme Super Battle Road stages as well as Super Battle Road stages. That's the only reason why I just placed him a bit lower. Otherwise, I still think he's phenomenal. Like you said, that raising defense infinitely when he gets that Gohan youth on the same team. The attack and defense 200% plus a medium chance to launch an additional attack. And a Hybrid Saiyan support passive never goes amiss, especially with, like you said, how Hybrid Saiyans is right now and how it will be in the next couple of months, because you know there's going to be more and more and more. So yeah, no, I think this is fine. I think this is really, really solid still. I don't mind, placing him or Gotenks above one another. They're fine, honestly speaking. So yeah, not much to add in your or to your points, to be honest, apart from the fact that it's a toss-up. It's up. I don't know. What would you guys say in the over you guys at home, basically? Let us know in the comments where will you place Trunks or Gotenks above one another. It'll be very interesting to see what you guys think in the comment section down below. All right, so we move on from number 6, unless you wanted to add anything, Minato.
No, I think that's pretty much it. Well, I guess one last thing I would say is the reason I feel like the true deciding factor and why I have him above Gotenks is I feel like he might be more consistent than Gotenks as well, especially with the support passive, but that's really it. We can move on to the next one.
We move on to number 5 though. Number 5 was a little bit more easier to place, and obviously we had to bring him in, our Lord and Savior, our Dark Lord, Super Garlic Jr. of course, at number 5. He is phenomenal. He is so good as well, in my opinion. I managed to randomly pull him off like some random ticket because I didn't summon on Kid Gohan's banner. But I randomly pulled him off of like some general banner, I think it was. I don't remember what it was. And he is so good. Attacking defense 160 off the start of turn, and then he gets an additional 60% attack and defense and a medium chance of stunning the enemy when attacking superclass enemies, which, by the way, I know we complained about conditions earlier on in the video. This is a much easier condition to get because so much of the game is just superclass enemies, and he's more likelier to face those enemies, especially in Super Battle Road and stuff. He also has a passive that we also kind of mentioned and hinted towards earlier on, which is Extreme Class Allies Key +3 attacking defense 40%. He recovers 10% HP at the end of the turn in which an attack was also received. And he has really good link set, a really good link set with Big Bad Bosses, Metamorphosis, Nightmare. Some of the extreme units have these link sets, so he fits in really well. That was one concern I think a lot of us had before he released, was like, how is his link skilled? How is his link set gonna be? It's really good. It really is very good. Categories wise, he also has a really good set of categories. Minato, you want to add anything on top of that?
Yeah, just a few things. I definitely agree with all the points you said. It's just that the extreme class like support of this key 3 and 40% attack and defense is just so good, and he's basically like a must run of, especially in all his teams if you run villain variants of it. Like the revenge category of villain variant, that could be pretty good. He's very good for terrifying conquerors, especially with the support and his link set. Transformation boost, resurrected warriors, time travelers. He's very good for all of those teams. And overall his full passive is very easy to get because it's when attacking a superclass enemy. He also can recover a solid amount of HP with Metamorphosis and the 10% at the end of turn. He recovers. He does have to get attacked, but it's not that like unoften you'll get attacked in a turn, I feel like. Now the only thing about him I'd say that kind of holds him back a little is his super attack effect. Again, greatly raising attack permanently is like, it's okay, but it definitely, I feel like if he had some sort of like defense raising on there, and he was also better a little for like longer events, I feel like he's maybe more so for Super Battle than a longer event unit. Although he does get some pretty solid stats. The stacking defense would just allow him to have that little extra buff if they wanted to make him a little better compared to the other units on the list. But yeah, I feel like, the fact that you just end up using him like every villain team that you're gonna run, I feel like most of the time. And his support passive, I feel like, is more expansive than, say, the Trunks that we had previously, which is, even though Hybrid Saiyans is very expansive and good, it can't beat this extreme class by itself, I feel like. And I feel like this Garlic Jr. also does a little more overall, and just a more needed unit, and probably better overall link set too, in comparing between super class and extreme class. But that's all I really have to say about Garlic Jr. He's our Lord and Savior. He's just a GOAT. I love Garlic Jr. a lot, actually. He's one of my more favorite releases for this year. Just memes aside, even. it's pretty good.
No, 100%. I think the one thing I want to add on top of that as well, before we go to number 4 in our list, is we talked about Gotenks not being amazing for long run events, whereas in SBR he's fantastic. We kind of said the same thing here for Garlic Jr. But I think the biggest difference I think that we differentiate between the two of them is that Garlic Jr. is much more universal compared to Gotenks. I think that was probably a better comparison as well, in terms of like we kind of have like both units more for SBR, but one is just a lot more universal in that he can go on to a lot of extreme teams versus Gotenks, who's on primarily like units you want to float around with time limit and stuff, right? But still, both amazing units. They're very close to each other. Obviously, but Garlic Jr. hits our number 5. But next up is number 4. We're getting close to the top 3. Minato, number 4. Tell us, who's at number 4?
Yeah, I'll be happy to tell you. Number 4 is Trunks and Goten, the GT version, so the AGL support unit that came out during Golden Week. So again, another hybrid Saiyans unit. A shocker, right? But continuing on here. This unit is just so valuable in every single situation you can bring them in, I feel like. Because the supporting Goku family and Vegeta family for 3 key and 40% attacking defense is so huge. Even though they don't get it themselves, it's just such a gigantic impact that you can't not look at that passive even on paper and just be like stunned, I feel like that, the permanently stacking attack and defense is pretty solid as well. Even for super battle road runs, they can triple super, which is definitely pretty good for them. And they have a pretty solid link set as well, Saiyan Lineage, Saiyan Warrior Race, Full Judgment, GT First Battle, solid support, even pretty good solid links all around. What I would say is the one thing that holds them back a little is probably category teams. Because it's a Goten and Trunks unit together in GT, they're not really on too many categories. They're on around 5 or 6 from what I'm seeing here. And that definitely does hold them back a little, but I feel like when you use this unit, they not only feel pretty strong at times, but it's just that the impact they have is way too great compared to, I feel like, the other units that we've seen previously on the list. But yeah, I would say that really it's just the categories that may hold them back from being higher. But I feel like that overall, you're just gonna end up also using them probably more than Garlic Jr. Simply because the thing with these banner units is that a lot of the times with them being support type units, it really depends on how wide the support buff is at times, along with how powerful they could be together. So I feel like overall, like as a general balance between the two of Garlic Jr. and Goten and Trunks, I feel like Goten and Trunks have the edge, but it's not like too high or too much of a difference. What are you thinking, Gail? Is there anything I may have missed?
No, you covered a lot of what I wanted to say as well, mate. I mean, they are absolutely phenomenal in my opinion. I mean, they aren't on the Goku's family and Vegeta's family individually, which I would have loved, because okay, so this is one problem I have with Dokkan, and I wish they would follow Legends in this. Of course, people know about, the Goku and Vegeta that just dropped in Legends, right? That Goku and Vegeta is on both Son family and Vegeta clan in that game. Why can't Dokkan do that? I don't understand why Dokkan just doesn't do that. It would lead to so much goodness. It would be so nice, right, Minado? But of course,
yes, definitely.
That's not gonna happen, unfortunately, unless they decide otherwise. I still think they're really freaking good. I was about to swear there, but I caught myself. They're really freaking good. I love using them every single time. They infinitely stack, like you mentioned. They work on. I mean, they support Goku's family and Vegeta's family. Probably the biggest two. If you combine the two, they're probably the biggest category in the game, basically. I think at this point, right? So I think them being such a universal, it's kind of the same thing as we said about Garlic Jr. They're supremely universal. The only downside, I think, and the reason why they're probably at number 4 instead of being higher is lack of categories. They're just on 5. But again, if Dokkan would just follow Legends in this regard and add them to Goku's family and Vegeta's family, I think they could easily compete for number 1 at that point. What would you say to that, Minato?
I mean, if they're on 5 more teams or something, definitely. Even if they're just added to the Goku and Vegeta family teams, I could see them shoot up on the list for sure. It depends on the situation. I feel like they are a little RNG dependent maybe because of the triple super attacks, but I feel like they don't necessarily even need that, honestly, to be pretty good still. That is like an added bonus, I feel like, over anything.
Agreed. And the thing is, also the other downside, I would say, and you mentioned it, I think, is because their support passive is Goku's family and Vegeta's family, they don't technically avail that. Imagine if they could take advantage of that as well. I think that's also something that would boost them up a little bit more as well. So, hey, wishful thinking. Hopefully Dokkan listens and actually looks at what Legends is doing in that regards and hopefully adds them to that list, because please, if they do, they're going to be really, really good. But that's Goten and Trunks. We move on to number 3, of course, for our list, and this is where things get very, very tasty, and this is where we actually had a little bit of a debate. I think when we did combine our lists, these top 3 actually ended up being on equal points, because we just had them a little bit jumbled up, and you know, with how we do our math basically for this list, they ended up all on equal positions, but we just decided to kind of give them like their own spots. They're still equal for the most part according to us based on our combined list effectively. But at number 3 we have Heart Virus Goku, or pinched between sickness and an enemy Super Saiyan Goku, as the title says. I think he's really, really good. I kind of had him lower in the list. I had him at number 3 on my personal list. I think you had him a bit higher. I don't exactly remember, Minato, but
yes, it was 2. I believe.
2,
or
right?
It was either 2 or 1. Around there, yeah.
Yeah, but he's so good. He has an attack and defense 100%, and then he raises attack and defense even more by 200% with higher the HP remaining. Ki +5, so he's not lacking in ki whatsoever for himself. Chance to perform a critical hit 59%, reduces damage received by 59%, and a 59% chance of launching an additional super attack for 5 turns from start of turn, plus an additional defense 59%, and reduces damage received by 59% when HP is 59% or less starting from the 6th turn. This man has a paragraph in his passive, and that means he's good, alright? That's all I'll say. No, on a real though, it's really good. He's really, really good, especially for like the shorter battles, especially in SBR. He's going to be extremely phenomenal with his 59% damage reduction, the extra critical hit chance and whatnot. He's really strong. Obviously, his super attack effect kind of helps his passive as well, with him losing 7% HP as well, and therefore, you know, if you're lower than 59% HP from the 6th turn onwards, you're gonna still be able to get that damage reduction off. Obviously, you're probably gonna use him less in longer run battles, more so in shorter battles, but even then, like, even though he's not a support unit, he's probably the only non-support unit in this list, right, if I'm not mistaken? So the fact that he's even on this list and this high up goes to show how powerful he is. Minato, you've used him a lot more than I have. Of course, me being a global player, I've only seen a lot of the footage and I've literally looked into it a lot more. Minato, you've probably used him actually, so how do you feel about him?
Yeah, I have used him, and I'll just say I took him 55% Pure Saiyan's Extreme Super Battle, and he took double digits normal, so that's very impressive. Of course, we all know how hard that stage could be. I just feel like the thing with this Goku is that in short events, he's literally one of the best units in the game, no matter what. Like, you can't deny that. He just does so much. He's just so overwhelming of a force that even though he's not providing a support type of like these other units are, he's doing more than enough to make up for it with the crits, additionals. He doesn't take damage. He's very key consistent. He has a strong link set, same lineage, prepared for battle, shocking speed. All very strong key links right now. And, you know, he's on a solid amount of category teams that are very good, like Super Saiyans, Goku Family, Pure Saiyans. You know, even he helps teams that may need a little help, like Android Cell Saga and Accelerated Battle. He's just a great choice no matter where you look into it, especially in short content. This is definitely one of your top choices to bring into the team. What I would say is people also, I feel like, they look at him as only a short event unit and don't think that he's actually still pretty good for long events. I feel like, you know, I talked about this earlier, Garlic Jr., the greatly stacking is not like the best mechanic ever, but of course, as you're going through into a longer event, you can see the difference, especially with, you know, units like this Goku who can get multiple super attacks, especially because like triple super attacks multiple times early on, that can stack up and you can see a noticeable difference after some time. And he can still get the damage reduction when you need it in longer events too. I'd say the only thing with him is, again, he doesn't necessarily support the team around him compared to these other units, which I can feel like you can make the argument for the other units being above him. because they do actually end up supporting.
Mm-hmm.
And he is still, although while he's still super powerful in long events, and he's not like, you know, nearly as great as he could be in short events. But that's really all I have to say about him. He's just a fantastic unit. I'm a little sour on the HP restriction. Not the HP restriction. The sacrificing 7% HP, but it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yep.
And it could even help you get some transformation conditions, like, you know, if you're running up with like the new Dokkan Fest Super Saiyan 2 Goku that came out, you know, he has an HP restriction, you could technically get that off and stuff like that.
Could.
So it could be very interesting in how you handle this guy, but I really like him personally.
Yeah, I'm not too mad about the HP one, like you said, purely because it kind of helps him as well, and obviously the transformation conditions, like you said, with other units as well. For example, the new Goku. So I'm not too sour on it, but yeah, I 100% agree with what you've said there. I feel like he is still really solid for long events. Not the craziest unit or anything, but he's still solid. I wouldn't say he's like the worst unit on the planet. It's not as if he just drops off like, say, you know, Garlic Jr. or Gotenks maybe, but he's still good. Let's move on to number 2 then. We're getting close to the finale. Number 2, Minado.
So I'm gonna just say right now, of course, the int Dr. Zerone Android 19 is the current swap for number 2 that we have on this list. So I'm gonna say straight away, the reason why I feel like I'm okay with this guy being above this previous Goku is because they do a mechanic that no other unit currently has, like in the game, that you could use. They absorb Ki Blast super attacks and they heal 39% from it. That is such a powerful ability. Like you guys, it's something that, especially when you're using in game and Super Battle Road, you see how useful that could be. And on top of that, they heal on their super attack effects. They could foresee enemy super attacks, you know, if they fall below a 39% HP threshold, which you won't see that too often, but you could literally see where the enemy super attack is sometimes, put them in front of it, and they heal you back up when you're at that low HP because you put them where the super attack is. So I think that's a pretty good design. They can support the androids category team, which has gotten a lot of buffs recently with the recent Tech Dokkan Fest androids actual celebration that came out, and they still actually put up pretty solid numbers. They raised attack and defense 1 turn. They get basically 200% attack and defense at the start of turn. They get another around 40% when they're performing a super attack. There's a lot that goes into how that calculates, and they could look pretty good and have pretty solid numbers, especially defensively. We have stuff like Android Assault, Red Ribbon Army, you know, stuff like that active, and that gives them a pretty solid amount of defense. Now, what I would say is their weakness is category teams and kind of links. Although they're a support type unit, you know, their link set is, although in the situations you want to use them with other androids category allies, it's definitely a solid link set. But their link set is not like, you know, anything I would call like crazy. And again, they're only on 5 teams, which can limit how much you can use this guy, especially considering that I feel like they're another one of these support units where they're not necessarily restricted to being on the android team, where you don't even have to run other android units with them because of how special that Ki Blast super attack absorption is, which a lot of super attacks in the game are Ki Blasts, especially in difficult content. Yeah. But I mean, that's me rambling. I personally really love this unit and their design, but what are you thinking, Gail? Is there anything, you know, you think I missed or something?
No, I think you covered a majority of it. And I feel like the one thing that'll help them out a lot is that I feel like we're gonna go on a bit of an android spree soon, because remember, the movie is coming, the movie's got androids in it, and on top of that, we've obviously gotten, I feel we are bound to get a new cell soonish. I feel like we have to get a new super perfect cell or a transforming cell, maybe something along those lines. I feel like down the line we have to at some point. We're gonna get, you know, the 17 EZA at some point, the physical 17 EZA, Dokkan Fest EZA at some point. So I feel like their long-term stock is still going to stick quite heavily, especially as I said with the movie coming out. I think they're really solid overall. I don't think I have to add on any more than you've already said. So I think we should just jump straight into our honorable mention first and foremost. Actually, before we jump into our number 1, we had to obviously bring in an honorable mention, and of course this one was actually a global release. Obviously this guy came out on JP in 2020. He came out on global in 2021, very early on in 2021 in Jan. He surprisingly beat out a lot of more recent units like Piccolo, and the Universe 7 banner units, but we had to bring him in, and that is, of course, Topo Pride Troopers. Now, he obviously, or they, I should say, because it's the whole gang in the card art. It's kind of a unique card. They have an attacking defense 110%. They lower attacking defense on super, just to get that out of the way, of course. But in per pass skill, they have an 110% attacking defense. They get an additional attacking defense 110% when there are 3 or more Universe 11 category allies on the team. They guard all attacks when there is another Universe 11 category ally attacking in the same turn. And then they, of course, support Universe 11 categories. Key 3 and only 30% attacking defense, but more than enough. You're probably going to run them anyways with Universe 11 for the most part. The categories they're on have a lot of Universe 11. Well, I say a lot. The amount of Universe 11 units we have in the game are all on in those categories anyways, apart from maybe joint forces. But still, I think they're really, really solid overall. I mean, what do you think, Minato? How do you feel about him being our honorable mention?
I think he's a really good honorable mention. It's just the only issue is Universe 11 is a team that won't really get buffs too often.
Yep.
So they're definitely not like a unit that I feel like is like future proof or anything like that necessarily.
Yep.
But the guard, again, guarding, it's a meme kind of, but you know, it is a very powerful ability to have, especially in these, you know, shorter, difficult content stages. I feel like they could still be pretty solidly tanky, especially with links like, you know, Tough as Nails, for instance. They're in a decent amount of teams. I just feel like, you know, they didn't make the list, but they're still very strong. You know, especially with them they technically do support only 30%, and it's for a smaller category, which we've seen. You know, we've seen bigger categories in this list with 40%, which, you know, that just shows you the power creep of it, and that's really all I have to say about the unit. I think obviously he's better than units like you said, like Tech Piccolo, Int Kabe especially, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say there. I'm not sure if there's anything else you'd like to add.
No, I think we've covered that on our honorable mention. And speaking of Inkabe, we move on to our number 1. It is Inkabe. Of course, we had to bring on the man. No, I'm just joking. It's not Inkabe. No. We wouldn't do that to you guys. Don't worry. Our number 1.
I wouldn't let that happen.
No, you would be the first person to let that happen. What do you mean? Of course you would.
Never mind. He's so strong, dude.
Our number one had to be none other than Third Form Frieza, of course, releasing in the worldwide celebration, or well, as it was renamed, back to the 350 million download celebration, of course. And oh boy, what can we say about this guy? Of course, I mean, we kind of hinted towards obviously him being the only one remaining that we didn't mention after I said about the banner units and Piccolo. But yeah, this guy is phenomenal. Attacking defense 70% start of turn, and then he gets an additional 7% attacking defense with each attack performed. 70%. He has a high chance of launching up to 2 additional attacks, each of which has a high chance of becoming a super attack, which means he can potentially quadruple super. And on top of that, he is a sworn enemies category allies key +3 attacking defense 40%, which is basically all of the Z villains, or Z bosses I should say, as well as DKP in that list. And his super attack effect is raises attack and raises defense for 1 turn. The attack is infinite, defense for 1 turn. His link skill, I mean, classic Frieza set, has big bag bosses, the universe's most malevolent, on a great set of categories, and a lot of them featuring these sworn enemies as well. I mean, what a phenomenal unit. And I think deserving of our number 1 spot. What do you think, Minado?
I would agree. The reason why I feel like overall he is the number 1 spot is because, well, there's one thing right here. So you did state, you know, he has a high chance of launching up to 2 additional attacks, each of which have a high chance to become a super attack. Usually these summonable units, or you know, these units that do multiple attacks, most of the time they have a medium chance, especially when it's 2 or more attacks, like the Vegito Blues, for instance.
Yep.
A lot of times they have the medium chance, but this guy has a 50% chance, which does make a pretty drastic difference. So I feel like a lot of the times you see this guy triple, even, you know, quad super, you know, a decent amount of times, which allows him to put up his passive pretty quickly. And in turn, you know, his passive is multiplicative.
Yep.
He gets so much defense on top of that. Like, normally a super attack effect would just be, you know, fine. But based on how his passive works and him getting so many additional super attacks, that can wrap up pretty quickly as well. Sworn enemy, like you said, it's a very good category, very strong link set. So many teams and situations you could use this guy in. And you know, he's good for short events and long events, you know, the god events, wherever you take him, even for world tournament, why not? You know, you just run him, he does a bunch of additional normals and he kills all the enemies. Why not? You know, this guy's just good no matter where you use him, and I think that's really the one thing that really sets him apart compared to these other units on the list, is that no matter what situation that's Frieza in, he will look the same and be the most consistent, which is why I personally do agree with him being number one at the end of the day with this list.
Definitely. I don't think I have anything more to add about this guy than what you've said and what I've said as well. I think he's phenomenal. I then think with that we have our top 10. Of course, there were a lot more that released, as we mentioned, in Kaba, you know, Piccolo, and so on and so forth. So I'm curious to see if you guys would probably replace any of our names on our list with one of those characters. I highly doubt it, because you know, they're all very questionable units, to be fair. Maybe apart from Gohan and Piccolo, but we move. But yeah, let us know if you guys would adjust something in our list. It'll be curious to see what you guys would probably, you know, differentiate between our list and your own list. Of course, Minato, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
I just want to add, there is actually one more unit. It's zero place, and it's Kabe. He's best for last, you know. It's like you see one Frieza, then zero, it's Kabe. So that's where he is. But yeah, that's all I have to add, except for, thank you guys. I can't speak. Thank you guys for watching the video, and let us know what you guys think in the comments below on, you know, if you would switch anything around as well. Very nice to see the community talk about this stuff, and yeah, thank you all for watching again.
Yep, appreciate y'all for watching. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll bring this back, of course, during the summer season when we get our anniversary on Global. By then, we'll probably get a lot more stuff. Obviously, the anniversary for JP. Tanabata would be around that time, of course, as well. And a couple of more things should be popping in and around that year. The movie would have also released, so we would have gotten the superhero units in game as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Bye bye, everybody.